Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with ZeldaSpeaks for your Monday morning mindfulness sessions on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit ZeldaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the Mindfulness/Stress Relief Coach ZeldaSpeaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of Mindfulness on Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
And great Monday morning to all of you. And we appreciate you for starting your week out with us here on The Female Solution. As always, we look forward to an invigorating conversation with ZeldaSpeaks. And today, her special guest will be Rafiki Cai, who's telling us about cryptocurrency. Is cryptocurrency becoming the new world order? Well, join us as our Monday morning stress relief coach, ZeldaSpeaks, gives us some inspiration to start your week on the right foot. We're going to take a look at what the phenomenal rise of cryptocurrency means and what does this mean for the future of money. How can we use the new technology to benefit from cryptocurrency? But first, let us take a look at some events around the world that can give us a bit of a boost on this Monday morning. A lot of people have been feeling financially insecure and fearful and concerned because they are seeing changes in the government, which they interpret as hostile expressions of insensitivity to the needs of the people. But truly, we are seeing even greater numbers, people who are choosing to create new things, new ideas, new systems to replace that which isn't working for the masses. And perhaps cryptocurrency may be one of those. Well, we'll find out later what you think, but we want you to also take a look at the phenomenal rise of so many massive organizational efforts to take over their communities and to create new things that will solve problems. This is what we're all about, and we want you to stay tuned with us on The Female Solution as we continue to give you more information about our global conference this May. Sunday, May 6th from 4 to 9 p.m. Join us for Woman to Woman, a worldwide meeting of the minds. You'll be able to join us if you're in and around the Chicagoland area at the AMC Center on 4420 South Wabash Avenue. And you'll also be able to join us via the internet. And so if you're hooked into Facebook, we want you to be ready to join us on Facebook Live because this will be a live session. And we're also looking to join with those who are coming to us from countries all across the globe, from India, Japan, Korea. We're going to be joined from people in Europe, we're looking at France, England, and Australia, Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, Algeria. There are many women around this world who are doing some dynamic things. They are changing the world for the better because they have chosen to take charge. And this is what it's all about, making the decision to take charge. This past Saturday, we had the privilege of witnessing a wonderful gathering of women who participating in a wonderful program, and it's called Window, Women in Need of Discovering Own Worth. And it is a brainchild, an inspiration by Valerie Goodlow, who is the executive director of Women in Need of Discovering Own Worth. And she is a producer of a film entitled Gang Girl. And it's the story of how she and her husband, even though they were having difficulties in their union, realized they had to come together to save their daughter from the streets and the hazards of gang life. So we had a wonderful time screening that movie this past Saturday. And this is what the statement of window, through the window. There are many women you see, all different, all unique, all with the ability to be the best of the best. We must see this in ourselves. No one can tell us. No one can make us become all we are meant to be. It must come from within. As women, we must support and encourage each other. We must see the good in ourselves. Reaching our highest good must be our goal. Window is a movement that provides the tools for success. So this is a program that will be held at St. Sabina Church here in Chicago, and part of the GEMS program, there for young girls, which stands for Giving, Empowering, Mentoring, and Self-Identity. That we look at problems and create solutions, and these solutions need to be things that we ourselves have the power to control. That's what makes it important. That's what makes it successful, is that it comes from us, through us, by us, for us, and no one else has the power to forbid it or interrupt it or stop it. So if you have been watching the news, you know that there are definitely differing opinions about our current government. I don't have anger towards Donald Trump. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, and that is be a mirror to us, the values that our society has projected. He is a mirror that shows us what it looks like when we value people based on their wealth, when our value system reflects admiration for people who have scorn and disdain for others who don't have wealth. We're seeing what that looks like. We're seeing the value system of those who value profits over people, those who promote fear of those who are different. And we see what it looks like when a leader does not use diplomacy, but instead uses threats and insults at other world leaders. We see what that looks like. And he's only reflecting what's in us because we put him in office, and you elect a leader based on your own values, your own beliefs, and your own fears. So the current U.S. President, Donald Trump, is a reflection of us so that we can see what we need to change. We can see that when the world loses respect for your leadership, that doesn't make you feel very good. Or when those you put in leadership say things that are vulgar and degrading, you see what it looks like. So this is designed to into a state of independent thought where we decide to change the conditions that we're living in, and we decide to take back our power that we gave away to figureheads and people who have money and people who represent a classism and a sexism that denigrates portions of humanity. We've seen what it looks like. We see how ugly it is. We decided we don't want that. So we owe a debt of gratitude to Donald Trump, who has shown us what it looks like, and now we're in the process of changing things for the better. We're in the process of creating a new kind of world. We're in the process of creating a new kind of currency, a new way of buying, selling, trading, and exchanging, something that the people control, and it is not in control of the government or of the traditional banks. So this is good. Being frustrated with the way things are is good because it inspires us to use our creativity to come up with something else. There was a massive march across the nation. Chicago was one of the scenes of a massive march. Women marched and had another rally for the empowerment of the people and of changing the values of the country to make it more people-friendly. So there was a mass gathering in Chicago, women of all races, classes, religions, and that was a good thing because, again, it helped to transcend barriers that are artificial. We're all the same. All of us are seeking basic respect and opportunities to advance and to be our best selves. So having a mass demonstration and having so many varied kinds of people gather in the downtown area of Chicago. And that was another point that was made in other cities. We've shown that we have the capacity for collective thought, and we've shown that the 3.5 billion women on this planet really can operate collectively. So that being the reality, what do we have to fear? If we decide that the culture is going to be one that shows respect for women and values us for who we are and does not exploit our sexuality, then that is what we will have. And that's what we're evolving to. And that's why we have needed to see the reflection of a leader like Donald Trump to help us recognize what happens when we allow those kinds of thoughts and philosophies to serve in leadership capacities. We have the responsibility as women to become leaders. So if you're listening today, you can also join us on Facebook Live on The Female Solution as we share with you the good news of the day. We've also had an opportunity to participate in a number of things happening in and around the Chicagoland area. And we want to share with you a thought that can inspire you for the week. One of the wonderful things that we saw with last week's Dr. King celebration was the remembrance of unity. We were remembering in the midst of great division, there was a movement that unified people around the principles of fairness and justice. Now, during the time, it was not the most popular thing. As a matter of fact, there were many people who were criticized very harshly by official leadership and official organizations that had been accepted by the power structure that exists in this country. But looking back 50 years later, we appreciate the sacrifice of those who were willing to be unpopular for a season in order to raise our consciousness towards truth. That is what's happening today. So we should never be afraid of being unpopular. We should never be afraid of being criticized. When we are in the process of awakening people, there's going to be some fear that comes from those who don't know what to expect if they are no longer in control. We're moving toward a season of collective leadership, and this is as it should be. There is no one figurehead that everyone needs to follow. If you look at a flock of birds, and suddenly they go from being on the ground to being in the air, you notice you didn't hear one person give a single, no chirping, nothing, no wing, wave, nothing. They suddenly chose to fly because they're connected by one consciousness, a group consciousness. And so the group decides to move in a certain direction. So if we want to learn how to be anything, we want to learn how to be bird-brained, where when it's time for us to move, we can move collectively as a group. No one has to give a signal. No one has to give the okay. We all have the same conscious thought to make a move. And that's where we are today. We are consciously changing the things that no longer fit us. So when we look at the rise of cryptocurrency, and these are ways that people are thinking of how to exchange goods and services without physical money. So that means there can be no robbery. If you don't have a physical thing that represents wealth, no one can steal it from you. It's more of an idea. And if everything is transported online using technology, then it's really just a thought. So money itself is a thought that we have manifested into a physical form. But that physical form, be it paper or coins, it's something that people can steal from you. And so that promotes theft, robbery, fear, distrust. But what happens if the only thing we have is the thought of moving one bit of our abundance to another place? What if we just have the thought of creating the idea of something that symbolizes a certain amount of capital, but we don't have to physically exchange anything but a thought? So this is where we're moving to, where we're getting to a point where we can choose to exchange what we need and exchange nothing physically, simply provide goods and services and move around the thoughts of money. So when you've got digital currency, that's something that is moved on the computer. And we've gotten to that point with our, first we start out with money in the bank, and then everybody had a debit card, a credit card, and you're moving money from one place to another, one institution to another. You use your debit card for your purchases, and then the bank gets the message that you've removed money from that account and placed it to the store that you're buying something, and you get your item. So that was the step. So we're getting to the point where we don't need a physical thing to buy and trade with each other. We just need to do it. So we're going to elevate that to some point where we don't even need to have an item that people must possess in order for them to possess the capacity to buy and sell and trade. And when we get to that point, then we will have a collective free society where everyone's needs are provided for, because that will be the intention, to provide for everyone's needs. So this is perhaps the next step before we get to the point where all we have to do is choose to provide for each other's needs, and perhaps keep records of who needs what and who gave what to who, so that we can make sure there's fairness. But it's a sign that we are becoming more bird-brained, more collective thought-oriented, so that the whole society is of one mind, that we are no longer going to be admiring people who are misusing their authority and wealth and power to deprive others of what they need to survive. We're going to create systems that enable everyone to survive. We're going to create programs that repair the damage done to people's souls, our children who have been wounded and mistreated. And if you heard Saturday's show, you know, we had a chance to talk to the young lady, Nafisa, who was the subject of the film Game Girls. And what she said was that it was the breakdown of her family that caused her to leave home and join a street gang and get into crime. So what we're learning from our children and from the state of affairs, that we, men and women, must choose to work together in order to bring back the love in our homes and our communities. We're learning that when we repair what is broken inside of us, then we can repair the damage we've done to our children. And we can remove this society that is fleeing from pain. If you listen to yesterday's show, Woman to Woman with Rhonda Carter, we talked about the prison industrial complex and how it is the business of profiting from the pain of those who have fallen to wrong decisions because perhaps they lacked parental guidance and support. And so these businesses are rising all over the nation, just as schools close and children are left in despair. There are those who are planning to profit from pain, and we can circumvent that by removing the pain, by choosing to come together, as Valerie Goodlow did with her husband. Even after a divorce, they realized they still had a very important partnership mission to fulfill, and that was the love and nurturing of their daughter, keeping their family intact in a spiritual sense, because we never can divorce our children, even if the two people choose a different life path, because to abandon that mission is to give our children over to a system that's designed to devour them. And so we are empowering ourselves to create new solutions. So I'll share with you a few good news stories from around the world. There are those who often are thrown away as children who don't have a future. But this story is about a blind student who knits during class to help charity. When Aspen isn't using her Braille computer, she keeps her hands busy by knitting. And boy, can she knit. So I'm going to share with you this story of Aspen, who is a girl designated by some to not have much of a future, but she has found a way to give back using her gifts, talents, and skills. And she also sets an example for those who might dismiss someone simply because they are what you might consider having a handicap. But in fact, it's a state of mind. You choose to give, you can. I'm sorry, I guess our audio having a little technical difficulty here. Well, we want to give you just the basics of this story, and this is a story of Aspen, who is a girl who is blind, and she has donated more than 100 knitted scarves to charity. And she's also been diagnosed with slight autism, and yet, even with that, she has managed to give. She makes jewelry, which she also donates. And this is one of those children that perhaps the parents could have decided was of no consequence. And perhaps could have decided to place her in a home somewhere, or even foster care, or even give her up for adoption because she had a physical impairment. And yet she had the heart of a loving being and chose to use her hands to knit. And as a result, she had the ability to give. So with that story, of course, is shared on Facebook as part of the Humankind story. And one of the things we hope to leave you with in this inspirational moment is that no matter who you are or where you are living with abundance simply because you have the power to think. So whatever your problem is, within that problem is really your solution. It's your inspiration. It's your motivation to create. So wherever you see a problem and it bothers you, that is your push to create a thought, to create a solution, and therefore make the world better. I'm Naima Latif, and you're watching and listening to The Female Solution. And, of course, we want you to join us now at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution and call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we'll come right to you and get your thoughts. And join us after this break for Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks, and we'll take a close look at perhaps what might be the new world order, cryptocurrency. Join me after this break.
Grand Rising to you and to yours, my beloveds. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks. I do hope that your weekend was long enough, stress-free enough, and loving enough. If you haven't had the experience of having a wonderful long weekend, it's okay, because we are here today, and perhaps we can do something this week to make the upcoming weekend a better one. And as we always start out our Monday morning mindfulness with a word of inspiration, taken from my second book, Inspirational Conversations, 365 Days of Empowerment with Shalomith Yisrael, a.k.a. ZeldaSpeaks. It's been a fun and challenging week preparing for the kickoff of the Mindfulness, Stress Relief online training class for 2018. I think back to where it all began, which was the moment I decided that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing something I was not happy with, something that was not challenging, something that lacked passion. I loved my job, but it was not challenging anymore. I had to find a way to talk and be compensated for it. And that's where the journey began. From field hand, yes, I did say field hand, that's a cotton picker, to waitress, to factory worker, from a desk clerk to switchboard operator to receptionist, from a telemarketer to medical photography, from an office manager to a copywriter, from a voiceover artist to radio hosting, from motivational speaking to international training, from TV host to author and screenwriter, and now to the Mindfulness Stress Relief Coach and Reversing Diabetes. The possibilities are endless. If you can think it, why not achieve it? The journey begins once you make the decision. You've even decided if you've decided to do nothing. So, what have you decided, and where will you go from here? Taken from January 21st, Inspirational Conversations with ZeldaSpeaks. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed writing it because at a time in my life where I was working at a job that I hated. I loved the job. Let me back that up. I loved the job. It was not challenging. And sometimes you outgrow people, places, and things, and it's time to move on. And most of us stay stuck in an environment, situation, because we are afraid of moving forward. And I once heard someone say that you have to go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is. You can't expect to stand under the tree and get the apples, the oranges, or the nuts, and you haven't shaken the tree. That's just not how it works. So sometimes we just have to close our eyes and do as Dorothy did in The Wizard of Oz. I always think of that. And repeat something positive to yourself. I'm not saying click your heels, but click your mind. Get those wheels rolling in your mind and ask that which is divine, your higher power, and what you choose to call it is entirely up to you. You may call it God, Allah, Yud-Hey, Wav-Hey, Yav-Hey, Jehovah, whatever you decide to call it, your inner guide, your inner spirit, your higher power, the one with the one. The beautiful thing about living in this country is that you can call on it anytime, any place, anywhere, this country or any other country for that matter, but you can also have the choice of the name that you use. And I think that alone is a blessing. So let us begin to continue to bless ourselves this morning with Monday Morning Mindfulness by getting quiet, and let's go within and do just a few minutes of our Monday morning meditation. So we will begin with simply closing our eyes and begin the process of removing everything from your hands, feet flat on the floor, sitting up straight if you can, having nothing in your hands, and just beginning to breathe from the stomach. If you'd like to, you can put one of your hands on your stomach so that you can remind yourself in a loving way to focus on the stomach and on the breath and on the breathing. And as you breathe in, you will take a long, deep breath to the count of 5 and hold it for a second and then release it. So you will continue counting to yourself. I'll count with you the first time. And then you will continue to count to yourself so that you can focus not only on your breath, but the experience that your body is having as you are paying attention to it. Now, let me warn you, chances are your mind will wander and it will ask you, why are you doing this crazy breathing thing? And you simply say to the mind, thank you. And you continue to breathe. It's just that simple. You know, the mind has a mind of its own, so to speak. And the mind wanders. That's just what it does. We have no control over that. But we do have control over the continuation of thoughts and actions that we participate in. So let us begin taking a long, deep inhale through the nose to the count of 5. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, Hold it for a second and exhale through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue inhaling as you feel your stomach inflate to the count of 5 and releasing. Exhale to the count of 5. As you continue to breathe, simply pay attention. Focus on the words that I share with you to invigorate the cells, the tissues, the muscles, the ligaments, the bones, the heart, the liver, the lung, the pancreas, the brain. Inhale deeply and exhale. And as you continue to breathe in, give thanks for all of those organs that I just named, giving thanks that each and every one is in optimum working condition. Even if it isn't, give thanks anyway, because this is a period where we encourage the inner workings of our bodies to continue to work properly and give thanks for the work that they do. Because when you give thanks, you open the door to receive more. So let us give thanks for each and every atom in our body that allows us to breathe. Inhale deeply. And as we exhale, release all negativity, all thoughts of lack, fear, limitation. Inhale deeply, giving thanks for the breath, because it is the beginning of a new day, a new time, a new week, a new month, a new consciousness. Inhale deeply, knowing that everything that you have on this earth is temporary, including the breath. Exhale deeply. And inhale, knowing that each breath that you take brings you closer to your divine inner being that knows all and has all answers if you only trust. Exhale deeply. And this time as you inhale, simply repeat the words to yourself. I believe and I trust. Exhale, releasing all negativity, thoughts of lack, fear, and limitation. Inhale deeply. I believe and I trust. And exhale. Inhale deeply one more time, giving thanks for light, for love, and for laughter. And just sit with that for just a moment and continue breathing. Inhale deeply and exhale. And take the long last inhale and exhale. And if you're sitting up straight, simply bow your head forward and then over to the right. And slowly, very slowly, very, very, very slowly, around to the back and over to the other side, very slowly. And once your neck makes it around to the front, reverse it. Go to the left very slowly. Very, very, extremely slowly. And to the back and around to the right. And slowly bring it around to the front. And take a long, deep, invigorating, and thankful breath. Inhale deeply. And exhale. And repeat to yourself. Or better yet, repeat it out loud, because words have wings. And repeat to yourself at least 3 times to invigorate the subconscious level, so that at some point in time we will begin to operate from the subconscious level as opposed to the conscious level. So inhale deeply, and as you exhale, I give thanks, I release, I let go, and I let God. For whatever the challenge brings today, I know I can handle it, because I am a child of God. I am one with the One. There is no thing and no one that can bring me down. I give thanks for the challenges, knowing that each and every challenge, as disheartening, as painful as it may be, it has only come to make me stronger. It has only come to make me a better person today than I was yesterday or just a few minutes ago. Inhale deeply. And exhale. As you give thanks for your Monday morning mindfulness. If you just tuned in, thank you so much for joining us for Monday morning mindfulness. A special thank you to you and to yours for sharing this Monday morning mindfulness. If you're on social media, please be so kind and share it with a loved one, a friend, or a coworker, knowing that you are sending good karma in their direction, knowing that whatever comes your way, you can handle it, and simply say it out loud. Yes, I can handle it. Let me hear you say that. I can handle it no matter what. Once more, I can handle it no matter what. Last time, I can handle it no matter what. Repeat this. I am unique, divine, and one of a kind. I am unique, divine, and one of a kind. I am unique, divine, and one of a kind. I hope you've enjoyed our morning meditation. And if you have comments, thoughts, or suggestions, please let us know on our social media page, facebook.com/ZeldaSpeaks, the same on Instagram, YouTube. And if you'd like to go to our YouTube page and type in Zelda Speaks Mindfulness, you'll see the last show there. And please like and subscribe and share the information that we have available for you. A very special happy birthday to Karen McCool, who celebrated her 69th birthday today. And if you're celebrating a birthday, feel free to chime in on the conversation. We'd love to celebrate your birthday with you as well. Karen is the young lady who was my instructor at Chicago Access Television. She taught me to edit. So the TV show that you see that airs at Tuesdays at 6 p.m., Wednesdays at 1 p.m. on Channel 19 and 24/7 on the World Wide Web, higherlearningnetwork.org. Karen taught me to edit, and I am most grateful to her for giving me the skills, teaching me the skills that she did. Very patient woman, because let me tell you, I was not a happy camper having to learn how to edit. My background was radio, so I just opened up a microphone and talked. But no, I had to use another part of my brain and my fingers to learn how to edit. So that was an experience. So thank you very much, Karen McCoo, for the wonderful birthday celebration. She chartered a bus, a party bus, for us to go to brunch in Joliet Casino. Of course, I didn't gamble. I just can't give my money away. I got to see where it's going. But, there are those who gamble, and you have the choice. You may do as you wish, but I chose to just sit there and have some conversation with the seniors, because I'm now a senior, and I give thanks for being a senior. And that's something that we must learn to do, because this is a country that does not respect seniors. I love the motherland. In Africa, when you are an older person, a senior, you are put on a pedestal because you have lived long enough to see the changes and the challenges that life will put you through. Not so much in this country. You're putting a nursing home to rot, pretty much. So I give thanks for the opportunity to have sat with the seniors yesterday and gained some wisdom in running back and forth. Not running, I can't run, but I can walk, because a few were on crutches and canes. And I was honored to be able to walk on my legs to go back and forward to get them breakfast and lunch and snacks and what have you. So thank you, Karen McHugh, for that experience. Karen McHugh, 69 and doing simply fine. And she's having a 70th birthday. She's really going to outdo herself. She's going to have a black tie dinner next year on the south side of Chicago, and I'm just honored to be among the guests. So thank you, Karen. And also thank you to my girl, LaDonna Tittle, your Tittle in the Middle. She was on about a month ago talking about her experience as, what's the character's name? Ethel Davis. She's the gun-toting grandma in a Showtime premiere that comes on every Sunday night at 9 p.m. on Showtime. It's called The Chi, and it gives a different perspective of Chicago, because with Chirac, the Spike Lee movie, there was a lot of, what's the word for it? I'll just say a difference of opinions. It didn't make Chicago look that good. But with all the negativity, I enjoyed, and I think you'll enjoy it too. And I also, Tittle told me that it also comes on every night of the week. I guess those are the rerunds. So do yourself a favor and see how Chicago is being depicted in a different light on The Chi, which comes on Showtime. And speaking of Showtime, it is showtime for the Man of the Hour coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. I met an awesome brother by the name of Brother Rafiki Cai, who, if you have not had the honor and blessing of being in his presence, you will understand when you will overstand when you hear him speak, because this brother brings a wealth of knowledge to the table, and I am honored to have him here on Higher Learning on the Female Solution. And coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, you will get a chance to talk to him, because right now we're going to go to a commercial break. Very special thanks to our executive director, executive producer, Dr. Naima Latif. And if you just joined in, we'll be right back with more of Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks on the Female Solution on blogtalkradio.com. And thank you so much for listening. We will be right back. Stay close. Grand Rising, and welcome back to blogtalkradio.com/The Female Solution. How you learning with Zelda Speaks? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. You will be so glad that you did. I have a very special guest today, Brother Rafiki Cai. And if you have not heard of him, you will be talking about him long after today is over. If and when you get a chance, please go to LinkedIn and see the experience that he brings to the table. But I'll share with you just a little bit because there's so much. You'll be like, wow, where'd you get this brother from? Well, let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a founding partner with Digital Capital, design and develop web applications and platforms that empower a variety of work environments, ranging from college campuses to sales teams to community empowerment networks. And that was from April of 2006 until present. Also, from June until 1999, he's the founding partner, until present as well, from June 1999 until now. He's a founding partner, design and develop, implement community technology initiatives that bring to communities and organizations nationwide internet training centers, training curriculums, webcasting services, and event internet cafes. He provides consulting to organizational leadership and lecture series to students and entrepreneurs on the power of web technologies. There is so much more, but I'll just read this last one. He's the CSO, founder of Artificial Brilliance. He started in September 2015, where he designed and engineered and managed visionary and innovative strategies for companies, clients, and partners, driven by artificial intelligence, AI, deep machine learning, OMG, data science, big data visualization, Internet of Things, and other emerging technologies and trends. Anything that you do not understand, this is the man to ask. And I got a whole lot of questions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the microphone Brother Rafiki Cai. Good morning, Brother Cai.
Good morning. I'm sitting here listening, saying, like, who is that person she's talking about?
I'm talking about you, my brother. Talking about you. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence this morning. I know you've been traveling all over the world, Southeast Asia, Africa, so I am honored to have you on the line to spend some time with us this morning. Please enlighten us with the words that we need to hear.
Well, I say I am nothing but the conduit and the channel. The divine and the giver is actually the source of the words. And so as you all receive, so will I be receiving, because there is no script, there is no speech, there is just the flow. So as we engage in this conversation, we will see what the flow is going to bring to us today.
I love it. Now, looking at your bio, but let me back up just a little bit. How I came about knowing you from my days in secular radio, from V103, WGCI, Gospel Radio 1390, especially Gospel Radio 1390, is where I met you. And you just said things that were so foreign to me at the time, and I'm trying to increase my consciousness at the time. And I was like, wow, this brother is really onto something. He is a little advanced, more so than most of the community that I am with. And I take a little bit, we take a little bit what we can and absorb that and work with that. So I am very grateful to have had a business working relationship with you all these years, and you've always kept in contact with me. And the information that you have to share now at this point in time is so crucial to people on this planet, because as you can see what's going on with the government shutdown. So what does that have to say about the currency, especially the currency? Today you mentioned that we will be talking about cryptocurrency and what it is and how we can benefit from it. So can you explain to our viewing audience, for those who are on social media, and our listening audience as well?
Okay, so first of all, let me say that the principle behind what I would like to discuss with you this morning about cryptocurrency, behind that thing is a principle. Always we should look for the principles behind our actions, behind things that we acquire. What are the principles and values that we are embodying as we access or acquire those things or take certain actions? So I would offer to the listening audience this morning that the principle behind cryptographic currency, as it's formally called, right, is self-governance, self-direction, and self-responsibility. Self-direction, self-governance, and self-responsibility, right? So when we think about the public internet that came into existence in the mid-90s, right, we can call that the internet of people, right? It connected us together around the globe, and it opened up possibilities for us to share information and other things as well. Now we're moving into the internet of money, or the internet of value, where we now will be able, not will be, but are able to transfer value from point to point, peer to peer, as the technical language says, or from person to person, right, without a centralized keeper of trust, without centralized depositories, right? So that means that we now can move money from person to person around the world without intercessors, without banks, without central banks, without Western Union, without American Express. The same way as, like, say, for example, before the public internet of people, right? If we want to use it, we had to get up, go to Tower Records, or go to acquire a CD, or depending on what age you are, 8-track or LP. You had to go acquire it in physical form, and there was an intermediary or a distributor that brokered that relationship. The public internet made it possible for us to move that music without the physical medium and without the central distributing, right? Take that model, the ability to move music from point to point, and just insert money. We're now in the money or any type of value that can be represented by a token or a coin or currency. We are now in the internet of value, the internet of money.
That is an awesome explanation. I never looked at it like that. See, I told you you were just a little bit advanced than a lot of people are. So I appreciate you of breaking it down, so to speak, so that the layman can understand it, because we really are in control and we just don't know it.
Right. Really beautiful way to frame it. But here's the part to note, right? Along with control comes responsibility, right? And so all of our listeners should definitely consider with great gravity as they continue to learn and hear about cryptographic currencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. You know, there are over 1,400 right now as we speak. There are over 1,400 cryptographic currencies that are being traded in the world, right? So there is a vast universe of opportunity, and my take on it is that we're still only in the very early stages of this development. We're probably in, for those who know the history of the internet, we're probably in the well stage or even the pre-AOL stage. right? So for those who are familiar with the development of the internet, some people may only know Facebook, but there was a lot that happened before Facebook, and there was also a lot that happened before Google. So we're in the pre-Google and the pre-Facebook stage of this thing called the Internet of Value or the Internet of Money. But here is the cautionary note. With control comes responsibility, right? There are a number of functions that intermediaries, especially when it comes to finances, provide for us, especially banks. One of the number one values or features that banks provide for us are security, right? They secure our funds. They make sure that our funds are safe until such point in time that we need access to them, right? Once we eliminate banks out of the equation by entering into this world of peer-to-peer or direct transfer of value, once the banks are no longer our intermediaries, then we have to absorb that responsibility of security. I cannot stress that enough, particularly in this pre-stage of cryptographic currency, where things are still being fleshed out and developed and matured. Even though Bitcoin may be over $11,000 a coin now, it is still pre-stage, so security needs to be at all times at its greatest keenness and sharpness.
And you mentioned a very good point. How is it possible to make sure that that security is there when there are forces beyond control? And there's excuse me, Rafiki, there's a lot of noise in the background. Is it possible that you can get to a more quiet room, and if you need to do that, we can take a caller on who wants to speak while you find another location? Is that possible?
Unfortunately, this is the only room that is accessible to me right now, and believe it or not, there's only one or two other persons in this room, but one happens to be a toddler. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear the toddler loud and clear, and they're getting their point too. Well, we'll just have to perk up our ears, get the peanut butter out of our ears, and listen a little bit more vividly. But please continue with the importance of the process here.
Okay, so let me quickly share with users how this whole cryptographic currency thing works, right? So when you are trading or acquiring cryptographic currencies, you do so through a digital wallet, right? A cryptographic wallet, right? That is encrypted for security. Along with getting a wallet, you get a private and a public key. A private and a public key. Those keys are your responsibility for safekeeping, right? No one else can do it for you. There is no bank. There is no accountant, right? You are responsible for your public and private key because those are the access points to your digital funds, to your cryptographic currencies, right? Now, how do you safeguard your public and your private key? There are simple ways, and then there are more mature ways. One way is to write them down, physically write them down, and store them offline in a safe place that only you can access, so that no one can necessarily hack into your devices and find your public and private key right there in your, say, Facebook account, right? So that's one way. There are also software covers that you, or tools or resources that you can use to protect your your private and public key. One of the ones that comes to mind immediately is MetaMask, right? MetaMask, right? And some wallets even have a security level built in. But here also is one of the most important resources or suggestions that I can make to the caller is to get a hardwire wallet. Get an actual physical, some people call them vaults, right? If you look online and you put in cryptocurrency, colon, and then ledger, right? One of the premier makers of offline hard storage vaults or wallets is a company out of France called, and their product is called the Ledger. Their least expensive offline cold storage hard storage device is about $79. But if you are like basically keeping your own bank account, and that's primarily what cryptographic currency is, then you need to definitely invest $79 so that you take on that responsibility of keeping your assets safe.
Okay, now let me be sure that we have this correctly. You said there's a public key and a private key in which you only have access to. Now,
that's correct.
Why would you need a public and a private key?
Great question. Great question. Because there needs to be an access point, right? So you need to have a receiving point, right, for which people can send you money and for which people can receive your money, right? So there's an access. Look at it as two sides of a coin, so to speak, right? No pun intended. But one side is only for you to know about. But then if you have a bank account that only you know about, then who can pay you? Who can share with you, right? And how can you also, in turn, share with them? So that's why you need a public side, a public interface point, and you need a private interface point as well. It takes both sides of an account for it to be viable. The side that you can withdraw from and only you can withdraw from, and the side that other persons can deposit into, or that you can also deposit into theirs from that public space. So yeah, all bank accounts have like a private side and a public side, and that's the same thing with cryptographic wallets and the whole cryptographic currency environment.
Okay, now let's go back to the software. You said Meta. I'm gonna come back to the public and the private key because I've got another question about that. But I didn't get the software that you said. Did you say Meta, M-E-T-A?
M-E-T-A Mask, MetaMask. If people Google MetaMask. So it's a little M-E-T-A-M-A-S-K, MetaMask.
Oh, MetaMask, like a mask you wear on your face. Meta, M-E-T-A, mask, M-A-S-K, MetaMask. And that's the software.
That is one resource.
That is one resource.
Like it's one that I'm just like pointing to. I'm not in any case endorsing. I'm just using it as a
an
point
example.
of it. Right, exactly.
Okay. The hardware wallet, like for the cryptocurrency ledger, and it made me think about how some banks, probably all of them, offer what's called an online wallet. So is it anything similar to that?
Absolutely the opposite.
Oh.
So the ledger is about taking your critical information, your keys, right, and storing them off of the network, right, and only making them accessible to the network at such point in time that you need to do transactions, right? So when you think about it, all of the time that your account is online, it is susceptible to hacking or to any kind of compromise, right? And if you there's need for it to be online 24/7 because you're not transacting 24/7. And so that's why you get a cold wallet. That's why you get a hard storage device so that it can hold your critical. Because what we need to understand about this cryptographic currency piece is that this is not FNX Greenspan, right? Even as we speak today, if people will go to a website called coinmarketcap.com, that's coinmarketcap.com. As I speak to you, I'm going to take 5 seconds to go there right now myself so that I can give.
And I am going to pull it up on my computer as well so that our audience can
at CoinMarketCap, at the top of the page, right underneath the ad button, you will see the number of cryptographic currencies that are in circulation, which at this point is 1,465. You will see that the market cap, as of right now, this moment, is $520 billion. Not million, $520 billion. A half a trillion.
I see that.
Exactly. So that means right now in cryptographic currency, there's a $500 billion in existence, right? Do you think there needs to be like serious security for that amount of money? Do you think that that amount of value will draw attention? With this phrase,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So I wanted to share that to underscore this need for hard storage, cold wallets, offline wallets. There are people who have sizable fortunes in this cryptographic currency. They cannot afford to play around with like having it 24/7 susceptible to those who might want to necessarily borrow it, quote unquote. So yes.
There is this kind of currency circulating in the world that we know absolutely nothing about, and we may or may not be losing out. Oh my goodness, I'm looking from there's 100 on this page that I knew absolutely nothing about.
Right. So the first page shows you the top 100 by volume, by circulating volume cryptographic currencies. And if we scroll all the way down to the number 100, which is called gains credit, we will see that the actual market cap, and that's for the 100. It's like at the bottom of the list of the first page.
Right.
That gains credit has a market cap of $228 million.
That's a lot of money for currency that is not what we are accustomed to. And
go ahead, finish.
That's knowledge that we need to know a little bit about. But I do not a little bit about. We need to know, period. But I have to ask the question. Over on the Bitcoin is number one, I see.
Yes,
and it
Bitcoin
gives the
number one, absolutely number one. But I want to say something to your listeners because I always want to give the best ahead of the curve sharing with anyone that I come in contact with or anyone that I encounter. I believe that that is a part of my calling. It's a part of my responsibility, right? And this is what can help those who can see further, right, to have an edge, right? So right now at this particular point, Bitcoin is the 800-pound gorilla in the cryptocurrency space. If you look back up at the top of the page where there's the market cap information, you will see that it says BTC dominance, that's Bitcoin dominance, is 35%, right? So 1/3 of all cryptographic currency value per this resource that we're using, coin market cap, 1/3 of all of that, a little bit over 1/3, is held in Bitcoin, right? This is what our listeners need to know and consider and weigh and research on their own. We may very well be in a situation where Bitcoin is MySpace.
Oh.
Let me say exactly. We may very well be in a position where Bitcoin is MySpace. And how do I validate such a bold claim? Because Bitcoin is the first and it is the premier, right? It is the alpha stage in a sense of speaking, right? By very nature, it cannot necessarily be the best. Right now, when we think about search engines, right, we think about Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before Google, there was Lycos and there was Alta Vista. Google was not the first, right? So oftentimes the first is the shore of the way, right? It is the presenter of the horizon, but it is also the catcher of the arrows, right? Because while it shows everything that is possible, in due time, it also shows all of the shortcomings and weak points of that particular space, right? And that's the reason why AOL is not the predominant social network of the day, and neither is Friendsters or neither is MySpace, right? So here's how this, at this particular point, is shaping up. There was Bitcoin that was like made available or released to the public, say around 2009, right? Created anonymously by someone that may have been a single individual or a group of individuals by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, right? That was the creating entity. And we'll say entity because no one knows the exact identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, right? That was the birther of Bitcoin. After Bitcoin, then there was Ethereum that was born. And if you look at coin market cap, you'll see that the number 2 coin on that list right behind Bitcoin is Ethereum, right? Ethereum was, say, what MySpace was to AOL. It was the successor, right? It was like, okay, we can do this better. Here are the problems with Bitcoin. It's slow. It's costly. Here are the weaknesses. We can do better than Bitcoin. So Ethereum was born, right? Now we're in third generation where there's a coin called Cardano, right? If you go down to number 5, Cardano, right? Number 5, right? The former CEO of Ethereum, right, which was a improvement on Bitcoin theoretically, right, said, well, you know what? We can even do better than what Ethereum is doing, right? And so Cardano is the third generation of reaching higher, reaching deeper for greater efficiency, greater scalability. So the point that I'm trying to make to the listeners is that it is still very, very, very early age. This cryptographic technology is not perfected. It is not matured. It is in its infancy state. So that which seems to be like, impenetrable and eternal, there was a time that no one could ever think that AOL would not exist. There was a time when
yes.
they were thinking that MySpace would not exist. Well, where are they now? Right? There was a time when we might have thought that Blockbusters or Tower Records was impenetrable.
Yes.
Where are they now? Right? So I just want to put that bug in the listeners' ears. Don't think that any particular technology is per se eternal. Right? They're all, especially when you're talking about cyber technologies, digital technologies, there are always minds at work reaching toward perfection or at least improvement in efficiency.
Okay, 2 questions, but we're going to go to break, and I want you to keep these questions in the back of your mind because we have a caller, Andrew, on the phone, and we want to take his call. My first question is, you talked about the Bitcoin equaling MySpace, so I need to address that if I heard that right. And also, I'm looking at the cryptocurrency market capitalizations on the website that you gave, which was coinmarketcap.com. And in the top, it has #1 Amazon crypto marketplace. I'd like for you to address that. But right now, we're going to go to a commercial break. My special guest today is Brother Rafiki Cai, someone you need to know who was talking about how we can get in early on the cryptocurrency currency and information that you need that will help you make the decision on how far you want to go in this adventure. But right now, and when we come back, we're going to take a call from Andrew Nelson, and we will be right back. Thank you so much for joining us on Monday Morning Mindfulness with ZeldaSpeaks on Blog Talk Radio. Stay close. And we are back. Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks on blogtalkradio.com. The Female Solution with Brother Rafiki Cai discussing cryptocurrency, in which is information that we need to know. That's why we call it Higher Learning. And we've got a caller on the line, Brother Andrew Nelson. Please, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you. Andrew C.M. Nelson advocates automated payment transaction taxes for government revenue associated with electronic benefit transfer use asynchronous Byzantine fault-tolerant security. How many gold-backed cryptocurrencies are there in existence, and who are they?
So, let me, first of all, thank you for calling in, Brother Andrew. I trust that all is well with you and with your endeavors. Let me say that, to our knowledge, right, from the resources that we are aware of, there are over 1,400 cryptographic currencies, right? Now, let me also underscore that those are different than tokens, right? Tokens are a different type of resource that takes advantage of the same internet of values, right? So there are 1,400, and I think the coin market cap says 1,465, right? Now, in terms of who they are, which is probably the best part of your question, right? The answer is unless we do due diligence, right? And even when we've done due diligence, our ability to know who they are is limited, right? Which brings up another responsibility. Besides security, missing families, definitely do research. There is no investment that one would make, whether that be stocks and bonds or real estate or purchasing. There is no investment that we would make or should ever make without due research, without due diligence. Let me give you, Brother Andrew, an example that speaks to the important question that you've raised. A colleague of mine sent me some news about a particular crypto called con coin. And when I first received the information, I was somewhat really excited, right? Because before technology, I worked in social work. I worked at Rikers Island Prison as a part of that whole different time in my life. And so I have a certain sensitivity for prisoner rights and prisoners being empowered, at least those that want to turn their lives around. And so I was like, whoa, prisoners have their own cryptocurrency. I was like, wow, this is really serious, right? But when I read the second layer of the material that was sent to me, I saw that the first holder of that particular con coin was a member of the Aryan Nation, right? The white nationalist Aryan Nation. That was a whole different spin on this issue of prisoners having their own coin, right? So here's the point that I'm making. Just like the Internet of People democratized a number of different processes, right? The Internet of Value democratized the movement of value. It is a decentralized peer-to-peer network, meaning that any two or more peers can transfer value amongst themselves. That is full open democracy. That means whoever seizes the technology and uses it is able to bring, at least for now, right? Because the regulatory environment has not, should we say, addressed this full democratization of the movement of value. And so until such time that it does, at this particular point, anyone who seizes and leverages the technology is able to mint their own cryptographic currency, and thus we may not always know who's behind a particular currency, the same way we don't know who's behind stocks, right? Or especially OTC, over-the-counter stocks. We don't always know who are the behind those, as well as, other things.
I just want to say this for the record, please. Yesterday, somebody said the entire currency will be back on oil, but that's a different one. The system will either be backed by gold, or gold will be the confidence booster. Now, I know of Hayek Gold, Hayek Gold, which is backed by gold, and it's been on the blockchain for the past several years. One Hayek is always 1 ounce of gold, and Anthem Hayek Blanchard, whose father was James U. Blanchard III, is the president and CEO and really founder of Hayek Gold. And he is someone who is not a con man. He's someone who I believe is trustworthy. And he has Anthem Vault, which is the former nuclear or military base, I think, in Texas, where they have gold stored. And it's a very safe and secure facility. And I think that probably Hayek Gold is the best cryptocurrency on the blockchain to use insofar as collateralizing EBT payments, because be difficult to come by if you don't have the means to buy it when the Federal Reserve note devalues. So there has to be a source of an instrument of credit that can be utilized to purchase food and everything else that we need.
Okay, so we don't want to take the conversation too far away from the center of the listening audience. And you and I can always engage in another conversation offline. But you do raise 2 points that I think have great value, and I thank you for that. And I want to speak to them so that the entire listening family can have benefit from them. Number one, you illustrate that currency has its own features. Each currency has its own value proposition. So in your instance, right, the ones that you're suggesting that we give attention to, their value proposition is that their currency is backed by gold, right? So the listening audience should be aware that there are 1,400 different currencies at this point, and many of them may very well not be substantive. They may not have depth. They may not have real solid, unique, or distinct use cases behind them, right? This is the reason for due diligence, right? If each coin that is brought into existence is in essence making a statement that here is a set of features or values that are unique that can bring something into your life, right? It's that you really feel that.
Unfortunately,
We're out of time. We're out of time.
No, we're not out of town. You are blotchy. We can barely hear you. We can hear Andrew, but we can't hear you. And if I can't
I just wanted to ask also, I take it that Brother Man is familiar with hash graph technology?
No, Brother Andrew.
Spell that, please.
HASHGRAPH, hash graph. There's a website, swirlds.com, SWIRLDS.com, which has the information about hash graph technology.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that.
I am familiar with hash graph, Brother Andrew, which is really pertinent to the point that you made that I wanted to underscore. You mentioned a very important phrase, and I think we need to define it for the entire audience. I know that our distinguished host, Zelda, was going to get us to that point, right? The blockchain. What the listening audience should know is that all cryptographic currencies set on top of a foundation, set on top of a technology known as the blockchain. And the blockchain is simply a decentralized public ledger that records transactions from point to point and makes them transparent and accessible for all persons who access that particular ledger, right? The blockchain is really the story here. Cryptographic currencies are one particular product or fruit of blockchain technology, but trust me, the listening audience needs to spend time researching and knowing about the blockchain. So this is the big story at hand. The blockchain will transform a number of processes and industries that we currently take for granted, right? But this story is the blockchain, of which hash graph is a particular proprietary form of blockchain technology. Blockchain is important, Mr. Family, very important.
I am very grateful for Brother Rafiki Cai for all the information that you're sharing, but we're just having a very hard time understanding. So I think what we'll do is re-record this information when you can get to a place that has a better reception, so that I don't want people to miss out on this crucial information that you shared this morning. I've taken a lot of notes, so I think what we'll do is redo this interview, and then we'll post it online so people can hear it. And also the Mr. Andrew Nelson's, his questions as well. So I want to thank both of you for participating in Monday Morning Mindfulness on Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks. We've got one more caller on the line, Brother Plump, that we're going to take this morning.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Andrew, and please don't go away. Our executive producer would like to speak with you before you go.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And the conversation continues. Part 2 will continue next week. Brother Rafiki Cai will be back, but right now we're going to go to and open up the lines for Minister Plump. You have a comment or a suggestion? We've got just a few minutes here. If you would like to chime in this morning, thank you for joining us.
Well, yeah, shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, beloved. How you doing today, Zelda? And to
Grand
your guests.
rising to you.
Hallelujah. Yes, I just wanted to know, do your guest, is he familiar with MLS, Bitcoin Club, and also if he is a member? And if not, I would like to talk to him offline, which would be at my personal number, 312-671-2773. And also with you too, Zelda. I've been trying to reach you, Brother Plump, Robert Florida Plump, been trying to catch you, and somehow, I left messages, but we didn't get together. And one of the things was concerning Bitcoin. And I thank you, too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Brother Rafiki Cai. Did
Yes.
you get his phone number?
Well, I'm sure that you have it recorded and you can check it.
Yes, I will do that. I will do that. Minister Plump.
Yes, ma'am.
What was your number again?
312-671-2773. I'm a new student. Yes, I'm a new student in Bitcoin, and I would like for the community to also help us to do some research. And we usually have meetings every Sunday from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And I would like for them to be my guests as well as you and Sister Naima Latif and the Female Solution, as well as the general public at large. And for more information, people can go to the Harold Washington Foundation.org or .com.
Okay, well, thank you so very much for sharing that, Minister Plump. I will be with you as soon as we are off this call this morning, the taping. Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to have a closing thought with Brother Rafiki Cai, and just to remind the audience that we will retape this interview so that you will hear it during the week, so that you will be prepared to hear part 2 for next week, for next Monday morning. So in closing thoughts, Brother Cai?
I want to thank Brother Andrew for his call in, for sure. He helped to illustrate some things that were essential. Number one, that each coin has its own unique value proposition and feature set, and is due stringent research and due diligence before one invests in any of these cryptographic currencies. But also, again, I cannot overstate that the big story of this conversation is the blockchain. Every parent that is on this call listening, you need to apprise yourself of what the blockchain is, do some research, and then make sure that your children are knowledgeable and apprised as much as possible. Discuss it with them, explore opportunities for them to learn about it, because the blockchain is a transformative technology that if we as a community are not aware and empowered around, we would do ourselves a grave disservice. And Sister Zelda, I definitely want to thank you for continuing to be a community servant and a beacon of light and empowerment. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to be in a conversation with you.
And I want to thank you for this opportunity, for taking the time out of your schedule, and apologizing to our audience for the listening, the background distractions. But that's what happens when you're a man of the world. You're traveling all over the world educating people. So be sure and tune in next week. Thank you so much, Brother Cai. Brother Rafiki Cai, we will have you on again next week, and we know that the reception will be clear, because there are forces that don't want us to know this information, and we are well aware of that. And we thank you, our listening audience, for sticking with us. And be sure, if you'd like to contact me during the week, please do so. Email me at zelda@zeldaspeaks.com if you'd like more information on our online course that's coming, in which you can be a part of, for reversing diabetes as well as releasing stress. We are here for you. You can always contact me via phone at 312-409-6619 and also email me, Zelda at ZeldaSpeaks.com for information and inspiration for our weekly newsletter. And you can also subscribe at ZeldaSpeaks.com. Oh, and by the way, DiabeticDonut.com. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, stay tuned to next Monday morning mindfulness on blogtalkradio.com, The Female Solution, Higher Learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a great day, and thank you for listening.